This former NFL star has a history of leaked text messages, and this week, another one was released. Brett Favre, Hall of Fame quarterback, isn't a fake guru, but it's alleged he was a participant in a massive fraud scheme. This is a guy who made $137 million in salary alone while playing in the NFL. He's also had national sponsorships, which could have easily put his total income around $200 million total over his lifetime. Why is Brett Favre in the news again at the age of 52? Because incriminating text messages were presented in court the other day. Back in May, this NPR article titled "Mississippi Sues Brett Favre and Three Wrestlers Over Welfare Misspending" was released. A wealthy former NFL star who's a hero in the state of Mississippi stealing from government funds that were supposed to go to the state's poverty-stricken residents has created a media firestorm in the sports world.
Well, my first reaction is that Brett Favre looks sleazy as hell. This is one of the more egregious things that you could possibly fathom.
In April, mother-son pled guilty in Mississippi welfare misspending. This is Nancy New, who ran a private education company in Mississippi along with her son Zachary. A lawsuit followed alleging the defendant squandered more than $20 million in money from a government anti-poverty program. Their education company definitely taught the residents of Mississippi how to get rich and commit fraud.
In court documents and audit reports, the state alleges that the head of Mississippi's welfare agency squandered more than $70 million intended for children in poverty.
Nancy and Zachary agreed to testify against others in what state auditor Shad has called Mississippi's largest public corruption case in the past 2 decades. A mother and son screwing their former partner is very fitting for Mississippi, considering it aligns perfectly with the state's adult video search trends. This is Ted Tobias Sr., another defendant in the lawsuit. Ted Tobias Sr. was known as the $1 Million Man while wrestling. He is a Christian evangelist and motivational speaker, and he ran Heart of David Ministries, Inc., which received $1.7 million in welfare grant money in 2017 and 2018 for mentorship, marketing, and other services, according to the lawsuit. A religious evangelist involved in fraud? You cannot convince me that's true. They have the highest moral fiber in society. They were hand-selected by a mysterious man to uphold the highest standard of the law. Just kidding. I was as shocked to see this as I was when Leo DiCaprio came out as being straight. This is Shad White, the state auditor of Mississippi. White last year demanded repayment of $77 million of misspent welfare funds from several people and groups, including $1.1 million paid to Favre, who lives in Mississippi. It's alleged, by me, that Favre took money from the state because he's still upset that he can't spell Mississippi. If you need proof, he even spelled his last name incorrectly. Brett Favre was allegedly paid $1.1 million for speeches from the welfare fund. If a coach wanted Brett to teach his young quarterbacks how to split a cover 4 defense by audibling the X and Z receivers to a corner and slant route, then he's the guy to give a speech. But what is Favre going to talk about for $1 million? It turns out, he never even had to show up. White said Favre was paid for speeches but did not show up. Favre has repaid the money, but White said in October that Favre still owed $228,000 in interest. He's trying to play innocent and the good guy who returned the money because he claims he didn't know the source of the funds. Dude, if you got paid over $1 million to give speeches and you never gave a speech over a 5-year period, you aren't fooling me. The other day, I did not receive an email from Brett Favre asking for me to invest in a volleyball facility, but an email did notify me that my personal information was removed from another data broker. I know this from having an account with today's sponsor, Aura, who protects my data from hackers, scammers, and spammers. No one wants their personal information exposed, which is why you should consider Aura's protective features. Aura continuously monitors the dark web, looking for your emails, passwords, and social security numbers, and sends alerts fast when they find anything. Aura also gives you near real-time alerts on suspicious credit inquiries, like if someone was opening a loan or credit card in your name. They automatically send requests on your behalf to data brokers to remove your information, helping to reduce spam and robocalls. Their VPN allows you to stay anonymous online by keeping your browsing history and personal information safe and encrypted. And their antivirus software will block malware and viruses before they infect your devices. Identity theft is so common that there's a new victim every 14 seconds, making it even more important to consider Aura's product. Protect your family and yourself from identity theft by visiting aura.com/Spencer or clicking the link in the description. If you use the link, you get a 14-day free trial, so there's nothing to lose by seeing for yourself how exposed your personal information is on the web. Back to the video.
Tens of millions of dollars on items like hiring retired pro wrestlers, first-class air travel, a horse ranch, and $5 million to build this women's volleyball facility at the University of Southern Mississippi.
Many people are involved in this scheme, but a big reason why this story has reached national news so quickly is because of Brett Favre's participation in allegedly using welfare money to fund the volleyball facility. This is a dude who has made upwards of $200 million collectively throughout his career, and he was using welfare money to fund a self-interest project? Text messages entered Monday into the state's ongoing civil lawsuit over the welfare scandal reveal that former Governor Phil Bryant pushed to make NFL legend Brett Favre's volleyball idea a reality. Through text messages found by Mississippi Today's reporting, the project's plans began in 2017. Favre and the various participants schemed up a plan to distribute funds in such a way that the state likely wouldn't find out and the volleyball facility could be funded with money that should have been used for welfare. For those not aware, Mississippi is the poorest U.S. state with 18.8% of its residents living in poverty. Needless to say, the $77 million allegedly defrauded in this scheme could have been put to a little better use by providing its residents with clean water and a decent lifestyle.
How is Brett Favre getting money that's supposed to get kids out of poverty?
It's a mystery to us. Here we had tens of millions of dollars sent by the country to do the thing that we need done the most, and it was squandered.
Favre claimed his innocence throughout all of the media reports, but the text messages recently brought to the public indicate a different story. This is a text exchange between Favre and Nancy New, where Favre asks if money paid and the amount from New would ever be exposed by the media. Nancy then mentions that Governor Bryant is on board with their scheme, which provided Favre a level of excitement last felt around NFL locker room reporters. This is a text sent from Governor Bryant indicating that he wanted to help Favre with the funding for the volleyball project. The main issue is the welfare program called Temporary Assistance for Needy Families, TANF, prohibits the use of funds for brick or mortar or the construction of buildings. Favre's daughter played volleyball at the University of Southern Mississippi, which many speculate is why he wanted the improved facilities. For a guy who's made hundreds of millions of dollars, $5 million is not that much money. Going through all of these illegal loopholes to commit fraud just to build a new volleyball facility that you can personally afford has got to be one of the best news stories for the subreddit A Boring Dystopia. Temporary Assistance for Needy Families is the name of the welfare program. Just reading the name alone makes you not want to use the funds for a volleyball facility. He's treating the funds like a buffet. I'll take a little from the Needy Family Funds, a little from the Veterans Fund, and a little from the Emergency Food Assistance Fund for my fake speeches. Favre first asked for funding from Mississippi Department of Human Services during a July 24, 2017 meeting at USM. Whenever the story reads, the parties had to craft an agreement that would look to satisfy federal law and give the illusion they were helping needy families, you know you're in the wrong. This is a state so poor that their residents had to await news stories like this one to drink from the tap again. This attorney, Brad Piggott, who originally represented the state's welfare department in the civil suit, stated the $5 million agreement between the new nonprofit and the athletic foundation a sham, fraudulent so-called lease agreement, and was then fired. Keep in mind that the firm providing the funds to this project is supposed to be a non-profit. They paid $1.1 million to Favre to build the stadium in exchange for some speeches that never happened. $1 million speeches sounds like at least one person was profiting from this. The Favre story doesn't end here, though. This is the logo for Prevacus, a biomedical startup aimed at treating concussions. Favre told Governor Bryant that New had started funneling public funding to the drug company shortly after he began advocating on its behalf. The former governor didn't accept stock while in office, but magically did so 2 days after his term was up. There's belief that as much as $2.15 million of welfare money was sent from Nancy New's office to Prevacus. Favre was an early investor in Prevacus, but eventually wanted to raise more funds to get the product to market, which meant taking money that should have been used in welfare programs. Here's the best way to map out the overall scheme. John Davis ran the Mississippi Department of Human Services. His funding was mostly from a federal program called Temporary Assistance for Needy Families, or TANF. He sent funds to Nancy New, who was the founder of the nonprofit Mississippi Community Education Center. Her anti-poverty program was called Families First for Mississippi. Mississippi Today wrote the agency gave New more than $60 million in contracts. Independent auditors found that New's nonprofit blew at least $12.2 million and have been unable to trace an additional $40 million that it spent. At least $1.1 million was sent to Favre for fake speeches, and Favre influenced her to send $5 million to the Southern Miss Athletic Foundation for the stadium. Favre later introduced Davis and New to Jake Van Landingham, founder of Prevacus. They all agreed to direct New's funding to Prevacus. My interpretation was that Favre and others were using public welfare funds as startup capital and would retain ownership, aka hopefully getting rich by using welfare money. Eventually, Governor Bryant joined in on the scheme, but his involvement isn't exactly clear. Someone making $50,000 a year in the state of Mississippi, a median level income, would need to work 2,740 years to make the money Brett did from his NFL salary alone. Once Brett's CTE begins really taking over his brain, he's going to find out how much we all rely on our support system for helping us stay alive. Then he'll finally realize how bad this entire fraud scheme looks to others. Great job by Anna Wolf and Mississippi Today for their excellent research on this topic. Thanks for watching.